This is All the Right Marketing, a publishing podcast by Cardinal Rule Press. Now, here's your host, Maria Dismondy.
Welcome to All the Right Marketing, where we talk with business owners and industry leaders about marketing their programs and their products. Our guests share tips that can help anyone who loves a book, whether you are a librarian, a bookseller, author, aspiring writer, or publisher. The truth of the matter here is that the advice coming out of these conversations are for creative marketing people across many different industries. Today, we have a very exciting guest, a colleague of mine, Callie Mettler. Welcome, Callie.
Thank you for having me, Maria. It's so nice to be here.
Absolutely. She's the owner, or you, Callie, are the owner of Clear Fork Media. She's a mom, she's a writer, she's a publisher, editor, yogi friend, and she's a badass hashtag girl boss. So welcome, Callie.
Thank you. Well, you got to get in the hashtag girl boss.
That's right. That's right. And actually, we were in a group of many girl boss owners, girl business owners. So we felt that woman power. Callie, let's talk a little bit about your journey into this industry. Like, how did you start out?
Well, so I've always been a writer. I was actually published when I was 14 years old for the first time in a book of poetry. And then when I got into college, actually in high school, up into college, I wrote a monthly column for Quill Unlimited magazine, which is a national magazine. And I also wrote stories for them and then submitted to other magazines. So I kind of got my start like writing magazines. And then after I got my degree, I worked in radio for a while, and that just wasn't a great fit. I loved print so much more. So then I went into the newspaper world. So I've actually worked in the newspaper world for going on 15 years, and I've owned my own newspaper for 12 years, and actually owned two community newspapers in Stanford, Texas, and Throckmorton, Texas. So then the publishing journey kind of started where I, had done the newspaper for several years, and we moved into a new office and we opened a bookstore. And it was so much fun to get the advanced readers copies from publishers and really work with publishers. And you get to go to these huge warehouses and see like what each publisher is putting out. And it's really, really fun. I get to do that twice a year now. But, just from that and seeing all of this stuff, I thought, it'd be so awesome if I could put some of my editing skills that I use for the newspaper and writing and stuff to publishing books for people. And so I started super, super small. The first year I only put out one book. And the next year I only put out one book. And so then in 2016, I really kind of decided, okay, I'm actually doing this. And I put out 9 books that year.
Wow, from 1 to 9, that's a big jump.
Yes, it was a big jump, and it was crazy around here. That was the first year that we went to TLA, Texas Library Association, and had a booth, and it was trying to get all 9 books ready before that, get them in person, have copies, have the authors come to TLA. It was just a madhouse. Like, it was crazy. And so after that, it kind of worked like in warp speed. So now we've been around. So Clear Fork Publishing was started in 2014. So we're almost 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We still have a few more years, but we've put out over 200 books at this point. And so when you look at those numbers, I was so shocked. We acquired Blue Whale Press last year. And so one of the things for that press release is that they were like, well, how many books have you published? And I was like, I don't know, 100, So I sat down and I counted them and I was like, 179.
Oh my goodness. And when you acquired the other publishing company, how many books did you bring on from their company?
12 books.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. That is pretty cool.
And so, so it was just super funny. And even with that, like I had a very slow year because I had breast cancer. So I slowed down even for a little bit in there. So, still it's like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of books.
That's a lot of books.
Yeah.
So this is really cool because you've been in media, you've been in newspaper, you've been in print. So your background is really well-rounded in the journalism and writing literacy area. So you know all about finding a voice. So for those authors who are listening, let's talk a little bit about finding your voice and how this can really help. How can they bring their voice to the world?
Sure. Well, and that's such a great thing because we talk about like when you read different as a consumer of books and you read different authors, their writing style. And I get to the point, I edit privately for people and they submit to me and I can almost even without looking at the name, I know who wrote it because of how they do it. And so I think for authors, it's really important to read a lot and look at other people's techniques and the way that other people do things, and then cultivate that into your own style and the way that you do it. Because, Nora Roberts and Sandra Brown and John Grisham and all of those are amazing, amazing writers, but they are not you. So it's really important to find how you do it. And I talk all the time, especially with picture books, it's such a systematic thing to write a picture book. There's very set rules. There's a lot of it has to be under 500 words. It has to fit within this. We have to have the hero's journey has to be this. They have to have 3 attempts, all of that stuff. Those are great. And we need to know those rules. But as authors, we also need to know how to break those rules to fit our writing style.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And so, I think that's really important. And it's also important to realize, as an author, you will have your stuff critiqued, say you have 5 different people critique your stories. You're going to get 5 very different answers. And so it's also important as an author to be able to take those critiques and discern what really resonates with you and what doesn't, and be able to go through it. And I really feel that comes down to voice. All of that comes down to, I just feel like being an author is a very goal-oriented thing where you have to know where you want to go. You have to align yourself with that. And then when you're in alignment and you have that voice, nothing can stop you. It's just an amazing process.
Well, and that alignment transfers over into your voice on social media, your email newsletter, which I think that's where you're going with when you talk about how can you bring that voice into the world.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. So one of the things that we know, because there are so many books, I mean, if you read the Publishers Weekly and some of those other industry sources, they talk a lot about how compared to 10 years ago, how many more books are being published and how many books are being self-published. And, because it's so easy to put something out into the world. And so we find now that instead of people going to publishing companies and buying specifically from a publishing company, they really look at authors. They may not know who published the book, but they know who wrote the book. And so that is why it's so important to have an author platform and have an author voice out into social media, because people connect with those authors. We connect with, I know who publishes Nora Roberts because I have a bookstore and I buy from the publisher. But how many people really know who publishes Nora Roberts or Janet Ivanovic or those people? You don't. You connect to the author and you follow that author's journey. And when they have their, if you like one book of them, when they put out their next book, you want that book. And so that's why it's so important to have that voice and that put your essence and who you are out into the world so that people connect with that.
I love that. And Callie, as an author, because I started off as an author as well, these things are all great. And a lot of authors study voice and they study, all of these techniques and these tools to put in their pocket. But something changes when you get published. And what that is that you become a business owner. You truly become a small business owner. And there's something that you have done, and I'm super excited about this, because we do something similar for our own authors, but you are opening this up to anyone in the industry. Yeah. And not a lot of publishers do things like this. So authors get published and they say, okay, now what do I do? Like, I'm a small business owner. I don't know what to do. So tell me what you're offering to our listeners and what's coming out this spring, which your interview is going live May 10th. So this will be perfect.
Yeah. So what we're doing is, well, and I say what I am doing over the next year is that I'll be rolling out a marketing plan for writers. And so basically what that looks like is that we start with establishing your voice as an author and kind of getting behind the idea, like you said, like, you're not just an author, you're a small business owner. Like, you are the voice. Your publisher is going to support you in that. But at the end of the day, you are really the one that is promoting your book, and you are the one that's interacting with the readers, and you are the one that's going and doing school visits, or if you're a novel writer, doing book signings and stuff. And so that's why it's so important to build out your social platform. And so we start with voice, and we really switch that mindset to being an entrepreneur, which I love that.
I do
that
too.
saying, an entrepreneur. And then so the class is going to work through that process and what that looks like, setting up that business, what that marketing looks like. We go from, having a few modules where we do that, and then we go into things like doing a Facebook page, doing a Twitter account, book talk on TikTok is a huge thing right now. So how do you navigate that? How do you talk to people about promoting your book? One of the things I used to teach a long time ago was how to do a media interview. Where do you look when there's a camera in your face? Where do you look when you're doing exactly. Do you look down? Do you look? And with teenagers, we used to do this, and I'd always laugh how their eyes would bounce as they were doing the interview. We'd interview them and videotape them and then show it back to them, and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh," But it's really about giving the author those tools so that they do have the confidence to go out and say, "Hey, this is me. This is what I write. I write fantasy books, and this is who I compare to, and this is why you should read my book." And that's really, really important to know who you are and put that out in the world. It all kind of stems from that voice.
Yeah. I love this, and I feel like you're really helping to hold the hands of many individuals who don't have that skill set, want to have that skill set, and they don't know where to go. Yeah. And it's overwhelming. So Callie, can you make sure that you send me a link for once that goes live, so that we can put it in the show notes, so that people can find out more. And, CallieMettler.com, you have a Twitter, same on Twitter, same on Instagram, there's a V in there, and Facebook, there's a V in there, Callie V. Mettler.
Yes. Because apparently there's another Callie Mettler out there. So that I have to call in the Virginia part of my name with the Callie V. Mettler. And then I get to see people try to guess what the V is.
Oh, Virginia.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate your time today on All the Right Marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, you know where to find Callie for more information. We look forward to our next interview. They air every Tuesday. Until then, think outside the box and don't be afraid to reach your audience in new and creative ways. Thanks so much, Callie.
Yeah, thank you, Maria.
Cardinal Rule Press offers a variety of support to authors, booksellers, librarians, and families. Find out more at cardinalrulepress.com.